I think adventure is all about going into your own personal unknown, trying to stretch your own personal limits, and also undertaking a level of risk. Now, just how much that is really immaterial. For one person like, say, Reinhold Messner, it's going to the top of the world solo, single-handed, without oxygen. But for another person, who might, for instance, have a disability, just climbing a Lakeland hill, or in this case, climbing Mont Blanc, when you're blind, is a huge step into the unknown, and that is a real adventure. And that person, and any person who is stretching their limits, can also know adventure to the full, can know the same kind of adventure as a Reinhold Messner or an Ed Hillary.
To the southwest of Grenoble, in southern France, limestone cliffs tower 1,000 metres above the flat valley floor, like the ramparts of some enormous castle. The Vercors Plateau, above them, is one of the classic limestone landscapes of Europe. Cave explorers from all over the world are drawn here, for beneath these hills lies one of Europe's deepest and most celebrated cave systems. Here, one group of a two-pronged expedition prepares for a unique experiment. Tom Whittaker, at the head of the group, is a lower leg amputee. 2 years ago, at the age of 50, he became the first handicapped person to stand on the summit of Mount Everest. This will be a very different challenge. Supported by a strong caving team, he'll venture deep underground to attempt a remarkable communications link with great possibilities in the future, both for cave rescue applications and also for safety. Miles Hilton Barber began to lose his sight in his early 20s.
Before I had my mobility sorted out, when I lost my sight, I was very insecure. I'd lost my dignity, I'd lost my confidence, and I'd lost my independence. And I've gradually got that back through training. And 7 years ago, I wouldn't have dreamed of attempting to climb Mont Blanc. But I think it's important that society sees that people with disabilities are still full members of society.
Coordinator and leader of the expedition is Chips Rafferty.
Iceland Deepest 2000 is a project which marries three concepts, the three concepts being adventure, disability and technology. The adventure is to put two people, one on the highest mountain in Western Europe, Mont Blanc, and the other in one of the deepest and most challenging caves in Western Europe, the Gopher Berger. The technology which allows a communications audio conversation to go on from a mountain through a cave, through up to and beyond 800 metres of rock, and also additional to that, a digital image, a picture, in other words, which is sent from the mountain deep down into the cave.
The story of the Gopher Berger has been marred by several deaths over the years, often as the result of sudden flood. A traverse out above each vertical drop hangs the rope as clear as possible from the water, but nevertheless, in wet weather, these drops can soon become impassable waterfalls.
Ooh, that was nice. I got a cup full of cold water down the back. Just follow me right through. Right, just go there.
The track up Mont Blanc is well marked,
Right.
but it is rocky, loose, and in places steep. This is difficult terrain for Miles, who
Right.
cannot see where to place each foot.
It's not difficult.
The cloud for the moment has cleared, but the forecast is for conditions to get worse, not better.
Right. That's where we're going. We're getting after the big stuff.
This is the section that Tom has always been most anxious about. He must constantly trust almost all his weight through his prosthesis on a sloping foothold.
Pretty tight through here.
Mac Mackay is concerned about the rapidly deteriorating weather. There is some distance to climb before they reach the safety of a mountain hut. Now over 400 metres below the entrance, Tom and Guy have reached Aldo's shaft, the most spectacular drop of them all, and also the wettest. Tom's climbing experience has ensured that he has little problem adapting to caving rope techniques. Once he's on the rope, his disability is of little consequence, and he appears to be thoroughly enjoying himself. Soon after, they find themselves in the Starless River, the large subterranean river cave that the entrance series of verticals intersects. A dinghy awaits them at Lake Cadot. Underground, the water level seems stable, and the most dangerous sections are now behind them. However, the horizontal going with rocky and often loose floors is making life more difficult for Tom. A pair of telescopic walking poles helps him with his balance.
Boy, Guido, I'd be lost if you hadn't suggested these poles. About the trickiest terrain I can walk on are these loose bricks everywhere.
Yeah. Lads, have you got one for me? Yeah, deal. Star.
Don't have a little
I'll
one.
be a gentleman. I'll be a gentleman.
Oh, look at that. Give us a little one.
He goes to my suit.
Thank you.
Just beyond camp lies Hall of the 13, one of the most spectacular caverns in Europe, and Tom and Guy still seem to have energy to spare. The Nikola system will use electromagnetic waves to connect Tom underground to Chris on the surface through nearly a kilometre of solid rock. And a Kenwood mobile telephone link will connect Chris in the Vercors to the team high in the Alps. Finally, by using an interface to connect the Nikola system to the mobile telephone, Tom, deep in the Gouffre Berger, will then be able to talk directly to Miles on Mont Blanc.
Hello, Tom. This is Miles Hilton Barber talking to Tom Whitaker. Do you read me? Over?
Miles, you maniac, you're coming in loud and clear. We're broadcasting to you through about 2/3 of a mile of rock.
I'm perhaps representing a lot of disabled people in Britain, talking to an American 3,000 feet underground in the deepest cave in Europe, and I think perhaps between the two of us we are a testimony to what people can do rather than looking at what we can't do. Over?
That's a roger there, Miles. I think what disabled people need is some technology, and then we can go to the moon.
Now, as the weather deteriorates further, and with the need to set off down the mountain becoming more urgent, the task of transmitting a picture remains. The picture may be less than perfect, but in the conditions, any picture at all is a miracle. The principle is proved, and the whole project must be seen as an almost complete success. Using this system, apart from receiving weather information, a rescuer would be able, via a telephone link, to discuss an emergency situation directly with an expert anywhere in the country.
Disabled person down a cave? Forget it, it's just going to cause complications. Blind person on the mountain? Forget it, it's going to, it's going to go wrong. This whole thing is just asking to go wrong. Technology, has this been done before? If anybody had picked this up and said, what you're trying to do, the professionals would have turned around and said, no chance, don't even try it.
I don't know, there isn't an inch of me that doesn't hurt. That going down was fun, but coming back up, boy, you're fighting gravity plus 52 circumnavigations of the sun.
What was it like when you actually got the image down the cave, I wish I'd been there to see that.
Oh, it was great. I mean, the feeling that everybody was, ooh, wow, we've cracked it.
Well, it's taken time. It's been really hard work, but it's down to the determination, the hard work the people have been involved. They've been absolutely fantastic. Nobody's winged. They've been stuck on mountains for bloody hours. They've been pushed down the cave, you know, really roughing it out and waiting for this bloody signal, you know, to come through, this audio. Yeah, it was.